Hi, Dana. It's Stephanie and Adrian from the How to Be a Redhead podcast. Welcome. We're so
Hi.
excited to have you.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to meet you guys. I'm a little bit
Oh, we're
starstruck.
so
A little bit
excited.
starstruck over here.
Same.
Oh no,
What?
same.
No.
Same. Oh no.
Oh my God. And a question we always like to ask our redheaded guests to kick things off is, what was it like personally for you growing up with red hair?
Yeah, it made me very nervous. I think we all heard, the jokes as a kid. And of course, when I was a kid, it was also really common to say, oh, you're the redheaded stepchild. So that message was always put out. But I would say the worst part for me as a child, this is embarrassing to say, but when I got my first freckle, which was very young, I sat in front of the bathroom mirror and I was just pointing at it, crying. And my mom was like, "Why are you crying? It's beautiful." And I said, "No, it's not. I'm going to be covered head to toe like daddy." I said, "Someday I'll just be one big walking freckle." That was really like scary for me. Of course, today I celebrate my freckles. I mean, people pay to get freckles now,
Yeah.
But as
Right.
a child,
Right.
Yeah.
to me, that was like marring my skin. Like it was an ugly thing to have happen.
Yeah, I know. I wanted to cover up my freckles as a child, so I can totally relate. And I have a 3-year-old son, and he's actually started to get freckles on his nose.
Uh-huh.
And I don't know if it's just a seasonal thing now that the warm weather has come, and I didn't see them too much in the winter. But my husband doesn't have freckles, so I was like, oh, that's so cute if he is going to have freckles, and we'll have to see. But it's exactly what you said. There's so many people like on TikTok now that actually put faux freckles on.
Yeah.
We saw
Like they're doing it with broccoli. They're doing it
All
with so
kinds
many
of
different
things.
things.
There's even some people getting them tattooed, which is like permanent.
I know.
Yeah, that's crazy to us. And so you grew up in Springfield, Missouri.
That's correct.
So, and now you live in Hollywood.
Yeah.
So a funny question, but one that we want to ask is, is there a difference with your experiencing being a redhead in a small town versus a big city?
Yeah, definitely.
There is. Okay.
And definitely within my career, which I know we'll get to that. I definitely found that when I moved to LA, my red hair was a good quality. It set me apart. It was unique. A lot of times, especially in the commercial world, people would see redheads and go, "Oh, the redheads are here," there's a good and a bad side to that. I think redheads too. I'm a character actress, so it never really affected me quite as much, but I had girlfriends that were redheads who had a hard time being ingenues. Like nowadays, there's Bryce Dallas Howard, there was always Julianne Moore, but on the character side, you get labeled a character actress if you're a redhead very early on if you're not careful. So I knew I wanted to be a character actress, so it didn't hurt me as much. In fact, I think it probably helped me in a lot of situations, if I'm being perfectly honest. Yeah.
Love
I
that.
mean,
And
go ahead.
no, I was just going to ask, for our listeners who don't know what a character actress is, what is that exactly?
So that would be your comedy actresses, your people who come in that are,
Okay.
the smaller parts that kind of bring the funny. A lot of times, a lot of my characters have been big, broad characters. I either play very sweet and stupid or just a real horrible woman. Like there's kind of no in between. So yeah, that would be considered a character actor.
Okay.
Yeah, and I also feel like in Hollywood, I don't know why, but there's something about characters who have red hair that it's fun,
Yeah.
like they're funny. I don't know if it's because they naturally maybe have it because they have red hair, but I noticed some of like my favorite, like Hacks on HBO. I'm blanking on her name, but the supporting actress, she's a natural redhead.
Yeah.
I find her to be like one of the funniest people. And I think I saw her on Instagram and she was saying that part of it, like just growing up with red hair, you learn to just have such good humor because people are commenting on you all the time.
That is true, because I will say too, I'm sure you ladies get this constantly, and I'd like to put out into the world that it's inappropriate, and please stop. People saying, "Oh, does the carpet match the drapes?" Or, oh, is that
Oh my
real?
gosh.
And,
I
I got
know.
to a certain age when I was young, we're taught just
Ugh.
be polite, and go, yeah, you can tell I have freckles. That's the sign, trying to point to my elbows. Like, but as I got
Yeah.
older, I just started going, do you realize you're asking me what color my pubic hair is? I hope that's okay to say on here, but I'm like, people have asked us this our whole lives. And if it's inappropriate for me to say on here, it's definitely inappropriate for you to ask someone.
Yeah. No, and
I
we
know.
mentioned that on social recently because when the Mean Girls second movie came out,
Yes.
and they referenced do the carpet match the drapes, and a lot of redheads on social were like, oh my god, we can't believe Tina Fey allowed that. And then Lindsay Lohan, I guess, was upset about it in a couple articles we read. I don't know the extent of what her personal what she felt about it, but it did bring up conversation on social about that question, whether
Yes.
redheads have heard it in their life. Some had never heard of it.
Oh.
Some said, oh my god, I've heard it so many times from different the opposite sex or other people I knew. So it was just interesting to hear how different Adrian and I despise that statement
I
and that
can't
That whole
question.
stand
thing.
it. I came up in the comedy world, so I'm used to a lot of, there weren't quite as many rules. The Me Too movement hadn't happened. I was around a lot of
Yeah. Oh,
dirty men and women, whatever. There just weren't the same rules. And so
Yeah.
I'm used to it. I can take it. But it would be the equivalent if we went up to a bald man and said, oh, do you shave is your genitals bald? Are your
Yeah.
genitals bald?
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not appropriate.
No, it's really
It's
not
just
appropriate. And
not.
it's something where, like, why kind of target redheads with that when,
Yeah.
like, it's kind of such a sensitive topic. It is a sensitive topic no matter what color. Like, you would never go up to a brunette. It's so, why has it become so common with asking a redhead when you wouldn't ask that to a brunette?
Yeah, exactly. And it's
Yeah.
asked, and then if you go, what are you asking me? You're the weirdo. I'm like, I am not the weirdo. You're asking about my lower areas right now.
Yeah. I know.
Yeah. I also hate the you're pretty for a
Oh my
redhead.
gosh, I've never gotten that. I think I'd punch somebody
I
out.
hate that. It's
Yeah.
what a
It
backhanded
is.
compliment, like you're pretty because you're different. I don't know. I just hated that. And I know that some redheads talk about it on social media too, but it's just such a mean thing to say. Like, oh, and I'm sure people get it for all variety of things.
Yeah.
Like you are pretty, even though you are
Or
this.
they'll
I don't know.
say,
I just think people should
they
stop
assume
talking.
they'll go, ooh, I bet you're fiery. And you're like, I don't know what you mean by that. And I don't want to know. I didn't offer this
Yeah.
conversation. Like,
Right.
I don't like
It's
that
people putting
either. I
redheads
don't
in a
like that either.
box, and all
Yes.
redheads are so different. But yeah, Adrian and I, we've talked about that. We don't like that either. Switching on a positive,
Yes. Yes.
redhead role models. Is there anyone, you being an actress, who's inspired you?
Yeah, I mean, the obvious ones are Lucille Ball, Carol Burnett,
Yeah.
um, for sure.
Oh my
Yeah.
But
gosh.
then,
Yeah.
I remember I was on a show it lasted one season, and it was called Clipped, and I was one of four sisters, and they wanted to zhuzh up and brighten your red. Everybody always wants to brighten it. They don't want you to be just who you are. I was the only one of the four sisters. The other four sisters had to be wigged, and they would pull their hair so tight because they don't want to mess with it all day. You're there for hours and hours. And so they'd be going, oh, this hurts. And I'd be like, oh, I went to the same hairstylist as Laura Prepont and Deborah Messing.
Oh, that's awesome.
And they're both very funny, in my opinion, too. Deborah Messing was Will and Grace, obviously.
Yeah. Oh
And
my
then
gosh.
Laura
Yep.
Prepont was that 70s show, which I know there's issues, but at the time that was a big show.
No, yes.
Wait, and tell us who your
I
hairdresser
can't even
was or
remember
is.
her name. It was so long ago.
Steph, I think it's
She
who we
worked
know.
at
Was it
Kona. She owns Kona.
Was it Rona O'Connor?
Rona?
Maybe they call her the painter because,
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's
I
Rona.
think it's Rona.
I think it's Rona. Because she does Deborah Messing, and she's been on our podcast. We've talked to her a few times.
We had a little box
we really
with
like her.
all the people's names and what their colors were, and we were the ones in the Redhead slot.
Oh my gosh, I wonder if it is Rona. That would be such a small world.
I know,
mean,
right?
Wow. Yeah, she does Deborah Messing. And then she used to do Blake Lively. Blake Lively, fun fact, her sister's a redhead.
Oh.
But she used to be called the painter, Adrian. So it must be her.
That's her.
It has to be her. Yeah, it has to be her.
Several times.
When I heard you talking about her, I was like, and then I know the other women you just mentioned, I was like, I think they're all her clients. So I just wanted to see. You know how like they say everyone's connected. Everyone's connected, especially redheads.
So I got to go just get like zhuzhes. She took a paintbrush and just like zhuzhed, and the other girls had to wear wigs.
Oh my gosh! So that's awesome. So how has being a redhead influenced some of the roles that you've been in?
I definitely think, the comedy thing, they look for redheads. Yeah. So that's definitely been an influence. But then like that, they wanted all four sisters to look like me.
That's awesome.
So
that is really, so cool.
I felt good about
Special,
that.
Yeah, and unique. Yeah,
and then,
that's really, really cool.
Speaking theatrically is different than speaking commercially. And I haven't had huge success in commercial world. That's just never been I work a little bit. This year I actually did a couple of commercials, but commercials for sure, they're always looking for redheads. It just puts that pop of color into everything. I feel like they can use us with a color aesthetic for their palette, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
When you watch commercials, it's very subtle, but you'll notice like a purple, green, and yellow theme, and then there's yellow flowers, and then a purple towel. I always feel like I'm a part of that palette, and then I just add a pop, and I kind of think they do too. And I also want to say, and you ladies probably know this as well, people think we glow like angels on screen. When they light us up, our skin is so pale.
Oh, love that.
Eyes pop and it frames our face. And we, I'm not running around saying I'm a gorgeous woman all the time, but when I get lit and I see myself on screen, I'm like, wow, there is something about redheads that when we get in the light, it's almost like we're diamonds, from Twilight. I don't know. I don't consider myself a vampire, but I'm like, I do sparkle.
Yeah,
it's
really
so true,
love
especially
that.
like red hair. Red hair in the sun is just so beautiful. Too. There's something about it. It like sparkles with different shades. Yeah, it's just so
and
pretty.
Then our freckles pop, and I think that's what made people want them.
Yeah. No, I agree. So I want to really dig into your impressive career. So can you tell us, the behind the scenes scoop? How was it to be on Modern Family? We're all big fans. And any favorite stories from the show? What was your experience like?
It was so much fun. I have so many favorite experiences, but I'll keep it limited. But what people do like to know is Eric Stonestreet and I were good friends for many, many years. He was, if I were to say I had a mentor in my career, it was him. So I had known him for a long time. We did improv together at IO West. We performed on teams together. He coached me. I really, really appreciate everything that he gave to me, business-wise even. He was a business mentor to me. So I had known him, and people always said, oh, I wish someday you guys could play brother and sister, and we were like, yeah, what are the odds of that? So interestingly enough, on the day that I was I was doing a chemistry read with Eric, and so was another actress. It was between me and this other actress, and so they had us come in to do chemistry read, and I had to go do that chemistry read. I had a small child at the time, and I had to leave my child at the set of Modern Family where my husband was the production supervisor so that I could change clothes in the bathroom and go do a chemistry read with Julia Louis-Dreyfus for Veep.
Oh my gosh! Whoa!
Okay, what an idol! What an idol! We were gonna. I just love her, but we can talk about her later. But that must have been amazing.
What a day you had!
It was. It was like I remember it all, but in the moment, it was a blur. It was, obviously one of the best days of my career.
Yeah,
And
I'm
so,
sure. Oh my gosh.
I went from playing with Eric to playing with Julia. I mean, it was incredible. So I ended up booking both of those jobs, which is like unheard of. But getting
Wow.
to work with Eric was a blast because in real life, he's kind of my big brother. He picks on me, But on the show, I was his big sister and I picked on him. And so the crew just got such a kick out of, our dynamic. I would say they would rap me for the day and I'd be like, oh, where's Eric? Eric, it's Dana's rap time,
Yeah, so it was like roles reversed.
Yes.
That's so cool.
It was very, very fun. I would say one of the most memorable things I ever did on the show, and I did a lot. I set things on fire. I threw children across rooms. I was always doing something crazy. But my favorite was the story was when I was in prison. To get out early, I volunteered to train police dogs. And so they padded me up in a real suit. They brought a real attack dog. I was trained on how to run, how to fall, and be completely still if the handler said fall, So we did a few practice runs where they would hold the dog, but let it bark at me. So this was our practice, right? And then they did one where they held it, they let it bark, and she held it while it ran behind me. I was like, I got this, right? She let that dog go. When I tell you the strength of a German Shepherd is out of this world, I am not kidding you. I screamed so hard and I was fine, but the terror of it and the power of it. So they were like, okay, now you're going to have to go do ADR, which is where you record lines again if it wasn't clear. I'm sure I blew out the microphones. I screamed so hard. And they said, your screams were too real. They would terrify people. So I had to go back and record scared screams that didn't sound like I was dying, they said.
Oh my gosh, they were too real.
My God.
I was like, yeah, they were too real. I was petrified.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Well, they trained you, right?
Yes.
Like, did the training take a while?
Yeah, it took a little bit. And it took a little bit to put that suit on. It's very thick, very heavy, It was quite an ordeal.
Wow.
Wow.
I can tell that you really loved I can tell you love your work, and I can also tell that this was a really great experience.
I've been very, very lucky in my career. I love comedy, and I've gotten to work on some of the best comedies that have ever been made. I'm just so blessed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I loved your quote in Authority magazine. You said, "We are our own businesses, and I am the president of my own company. I have to believe in myself and know that I belong where I am." And just tell us how you got to this place where you feel like you belonged, because I think so many people seek that in their everyday life.
I love talking about how I started, because when I was in high school, when I was in college, I was never the star. I was never the one that people were going, that one, she's going places, right? Never.
You're kidding. Wow. Yeah. So then
in my heart, I knew I had this flame that I was like, I know people are not going, it's her. But I knew it was me, right? And so I was like, I told my parents I was following a boyfriend, and I said, I think he's going to dump me when we get out there. I think he wants to rescue me from my small town existence, and he's going to dump me. Do not let me come home for a year. And I'll just make this story short and say I've been with my husband now almost 25 years, and we have a 12-year-old son. He didn't dump me. He didn't dump you.
Oh, so it's the same.
He was
your husband.
It's the same.
Was the same. Wow.
Lived out here together from college, and he is now.
That is really beautiful.
He works on Lone Star 911, which is the Rob Lowe fire station.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Wow. See, so you didn't need. So,
he knew. I think he knew that you were going to be okay.
He knew I was strong enough because, we pursued different things, and we came to Hollywood, which, let's be honest, there's a lot of nepotism in Hollywood. There's a lot of family. There's a lot of children who grew up doing this their whole life and were prepared for an adult career. We came out here like two, especially me. I was a hillbilly from Springfield, Missouri. Never been anywhere else. I didn't know anybody. I didn't know what I was doing. I just knew I was good at this. And I knew that there was something about me when I performed, people identified with me. And I knew that it was going to be a battle, that I wasn't an ingenue, but I just felt like there's a place for me. And then as I continued on in my career and I was like, oh, you might have been right. Then I started owning it. Then, when people asked me, I don't know if you ladies have found this being entrepreneurs and stuff, but people would say, oh, what do you do? People, that's the first thing when you meet them. Oh, what do you do for a living?
Yeah, all
And
the
in the
time.
beginning of my career, I would go, oh, I just nanny and teach improv. And, I would not say I'm an actress. And finally,
Actress.
I am an actress. This is how I pay my bills. But even if it wasn't, this is what I'm pursuing. This is what's in my heart. This is what's in my soul. People told me, you're probably not going to do this. And I did. So they weren't right. My heart was right. And then I started
And you,
going,
Right.
okay, agents, managers. Okay, but I'm the boss of my company.
Yeah. And you have so much confidence. I mean, even talking to you and seeing you, of course,
I was
I'm
thinking the same
sure
thing,
your
Steph.
roles, wouldn't you agree you have to be confident in in a lot of occupations, but especially being an actor, actress. So I
Yeah.
think that, do you
Because
feel like you've always been confident or did you have to learn to be confident?
yes. And I would say too, just between us few people here, I would say in my daily life, I'm probably not very confident. I'm an insecure person, but when it comes to my business and my craft, I know what I'm talking about. I know that I'm good. I know that I've done my homework. I know about my union. All of these things.
Yeah.
There's nothing that someone can say to me that will make me go, you haven't tried hard enough. I know that's not true because I'm in charge and I always try my hardest. When I was younger, I had a few reps that were like, you can't call and ask questions or, you don't say no to this or whatever. And eventually I was like, no, you don't tell me.
What to do.
I do my job. I am not disrespectful of my representatives, and I will not be disrespected either.
Right. That's exactly.
Yeah. No, I love that. I mean, you should see what people have to say when we tell people what we do.
Yeah,
I
they
can
think we're
imagine.
absolutely crazy.
When they're like, "What do you do?" and we tell them we're like, "Oh, we co-founded this beauty business for Redheads," and they're like, "Oh, and you make money doing that?" Like they just have nothing
I'm
nice to
sure.
say, and I'm like, "Oh, whatever." They don't get it.
No.
It's fine. They don't get it.
It's funny because when
recently,
you guys reached out to me, I got tingles and I was like, "Oh, these ladies are impressive."
Oh my gosh. No, when you were on board to be on our podcast, we were just so excited and honored. So it's just something that we were just so excited to talk to you.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. I just love that you guys saw a problem and you wanted to offer an answer because anyone who's a redhead knows, anyone who's even dyed their hair red knows. It is hard to find makeup and products. My skin is so sensitive. I can't use things that other people use. People could go to Target and get Clearasil patches. I'm like, are you kidding? I would look like the Crypt Keeper. I'd be like my skin would fall off.
So going into now beauty, skincare, we have to ask, given your career requires you, of course, to be under a lot of lighting, wearing a lot of makeup, being worked on, with your hair and your skin. You saying you have sensitive skin, because we know not all redheads have sensitive skin, but a large majority. Any skincare tips or favorite products or maybe things that you do to your skin that really helps it for our listeners that are maybe they're actors, actresses in theater, maybe they have sensitive skin, maybe both, that work for you that you've learned throughout your career?
Yeah, definitely. We're so lucky because we work with makeup artists and estheticians and stuff that give us little trade secrets and things, So like, I remember for the longest time, sometimes you get any kind of red spot or blemish or anything I get, it's magnified because my skin is so light. So like It Cosmetics has a great red remover because I can't use the green like some people use.
You can't use the green. That's interesting.
You can't.
I can't. It does not blend in. It looked like I just can't do it. But It Cosmetics I can do, the red corrector.
Okay.
Yep,
that's great.
Yeah, I like their red corrector too.
And then this is silly, but I get very dry skin. And my father's a redhead naturally. He's white hair now. We can talk about that in a minute, where I'm going. We'll see.
Yeah.
But he,
We have a
I
question for
have
you about
questions for
that.
you too. But he was always dry skin. Men don't care, and I was like, I'm going to have to look out for that. And that has become, so I bought, literally, I went to like a Family Dollar or 99-cent store and bought a cheap steamer, a face steamer. And I use
Oh.
that
Oh,
because then
yeah.
I don't have to use harsh products. It keeps my skin soft and I can just kind of wipe it. And then I did bring one thing to show
Whoa.
you. Is that lame?
No.
Okay.
No, show
Not
us.
lame. Opposite of lame.
So because I do like The Ordinary, they have some good products, but my skin is
Their
still
hyaluronic acid is the best. Have you ever
the
tried it?
best. I
Yeah.
use it very regularly. Yeah,
Same.
love
Me
it.
too.
And
Me
then
too.
I also, with that, I use this. It's a vitamin C serum.
Oh, who's it by?
Oh, I have a love affair with
It's
vitamin C.
by,
Just vitamin.
it says MB. My eyes are not good enough. I'll email you guys a picture or something. But it's got hyaluronic acid, amino blend, and vitamin E. And so the nights that I
Ooh.
don't use The Ordinary, I use this. And I got to tell you, this changed my skin. It
Did
stopped it
it?
from,
Yes. Vitamin C will
it
do that.
absolutely
Yeah.
stopped my skin from being flaky. And that's the truth. With the steaming and this, I buy it like I have a subscription now for it.
Oh, you do? Oh my God.
And it's only like, I think it was $10.
That's just like why The Ordinary is so great,
I know.
because their prices are so affordable. I mean, the hyaluronic acid, I have multiple bottles, but I've tried so many, Adrian, I know you too, so
Yeah.
many expensive hyaluronic acids, vitamin C serums too, that are $80+, even more.
Yes.
And then you find out, oh my gosh, the products that are under $20, some of them work just as great.
Yeah.
So,
And it's
yeah. And now,
feels good
okay.
on my
It's a
skin.
reality.
And hair. Okay, let's talk about hair. So, have you ever dyed your hair for a role?
Yeah, one time, you guys, and I was a teenager.
How was it?
That's how I was
Okay.
dumb.
Would you do it now for a role?
It would have to be a really great role, and
Good.
I would
Okay.
have to have somebody very good, because when I tried dyeing my hair, as a kid for a role in a dinner theater, it turned my hair green.
Green. Oh,
And I didn't want to
shoot.
do anything to it
Really?
to fry it, so I just let it grow out.
How long did that take?
Oh, months. My hair grew faster back then, but it was months and months. I think it went like through a summer.
Wow. So right now,
Yeah.
your hair is natural.
Yes, I get every once in a while I'll go get a glaze. So like if
Yeah.
you look at my roots,
Yeah.
they get more mousy brown than you girls are. So I'm on that lighter. Like I have some girlfriends that are carrot red and never lost it. My family, we get a
Really?
little bit darker as we get older. Like my aunt, she definitely colors, but my dad doesn't, obviously. And he is now white. And
So is our dad.
Our dad too.
I keep asking my girl every time I go for a cut, because that's one thing I do religiously. I get a cut every 5 to 6 weeks.
Oh, you do?
And I
Okay.
don't
Wow.
I try not to use product or heat when I'm not working, unless I have
Okay,
like an appointment or
understandable.
something. And
Yeah,
with
because I'm
makeup
sure
too.
I'm sure you've gotten so much product in your hair, like you have to get so much product in your hair for roles, right? So
They
it
don't want
stays
it
in
to
front of a
move.
video.
Oh
Yeah,
my God,
camera.
that
Yeah.
reminds me. Can I just pop in with a story about hair that you just
Yeah.
reminded me of? So
Of
when I worked on this
course.
show called Clipped, it took place in a barber shop. Okay. So like all the characters were in the barber shop. So we were in there all the time. And so one day they said, hey, would you let Ashley Ashley Tisdale, would you let Ashley just kind of trim your ends? And I was like, oh, and you're on set, everybody is there. And I
Did she trim them?
Mhm.
Oh
She
my gosh, did she
butchered-
do a good?
She butchered
Did
it.
she butcher it?
She even talked about it in a magazine. She's like, Dana, I gave an interview. It was like Entertainment Weekly. I saved it. I have it somewhere in a memory box, where she's like, I butchered her hair. And my hairstylist, actually, when I went to our friend, she was like, who did this to you?
Oh my
So
God.
don't ever
Did you
let
have a
somebody
say?
cut your hair on set.
Did you have a say in, like, if you
Yeah.
said no, what would have happened?
They would have been like, oh, okay. But when you're on set and you're like,
Yeah.
I don't want to lose lines and I don't want to make anybody mad, like, you get pressure.
Yeah, I'm sure. Oh my goodness. So right now, Adrian, you were just saying recently that you have getting a haircut. You asked how much white you have, and
I asked
I
them,
asked.
yeah, because they're in there. I'm like, oh, hey, like, how white
Yep,
am I
that's what I
going?
asked.
And they said about 5%. I have like just like, but it's, I don't know about you, but my white hairs are like
Right.
white, like
Like
they're
snow.
white as can be. They're not gray.
Correct. They're white as snow and soft. Because I was always worried that I was
Yeah.
going to get wiry. You know, we always worry about that. No, mine are starting to come in right along the edge of my face, is where I'm getting them. And I gotta be honest, they're so white. I'm like, I'm gonna be platinum. I'm gonna be such a badass older lady.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're gonna
I
let it go
I
white.
tell my hair girl, I'm
I
like,
love
whenever
that.
we're getting close, we're gonna transition. I'm gonna be white like Storm in the comic books. I mean, I'm gonna rock it.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that
Yeah.
because obviously you will still always be a redhead. Like we meet redheads who are 60, 70, 80 plus years old who don't physically have red hair. It's
Right.
obviously
Which
gotten
you
white,
can tell.
but obviously they're still redheads.
Yeah.
So it's such a beautiful thing. But and then we know some that are older who dye it, every 3 to 4 weeks. So everyone's
Yeah.
so different with their red journey.
Yeah. I mean, I think I don't want to mess with that when I'm older. I just want to embrace what my red hair is bringing to me in that chapter of my life. I don't know. My red hair has brought me so much. Like, why would I be like, oh no, you probably don't know what's best for me. No, she knows.
So does you mentioned a 12-year-old,
Mm-hmm.
do they have red hair?
No, I have a son.
No.
And
Okay.
I felt like when he was born, I got robbed. I really thought that I was supposed to have a red-haired, blue-eyed baby. Yeah.
Redhead.
He is a very handsome, brown-haired, brown-eyed boy. Now,
Yeah, see, you never know
Oh.
though. If
Don't,
he
because
does
my
have
sister
children
does.
later in life, he
Yeah.
could have redheaded
might
kids. You
have
never
redhead
know.
babies. Yeah. My middle sister, she has one son that has red hair and blue eyes, and his red hair is almost strawberry blonde. Like
Oh,
really,
yeah.
really like women tell him all the time, "Oh, I would pay for that hair color."
Oh my gosh, how many times have you heard that?
All
Yeah,
the
and our
time,
mom
yeah.
our mom
Ugh,
is
whole life.
a blonde and still owns still has her blonde hair. But us growing up, everyone thought that she was either the stepmother or the nanny because Adrian and I were these two fiery redheads. Fiery, I'm using that word, but bright, vibrant redheads.
Yeah.
And then with our dad, of course, they always, because our dad had auburn hair, so they associated. My mom said when strangers would come by, like, okay, that's the father. But then when my mom would just be with us, she would always get asked that. And then she also got asked, did you dye their hair? Like questions like, would I dye my 4-year-old's daughter's hair? But the questions that she would get asked, so she always would have to say, I am the mother, right, Adrian?
Yeah,
That
yeah,
is so
yeah.
funny.
Because we really, to this day, we don't look a lot like
No,
her.
we don't.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
so funny how that
Yeah.
happens.
Well, may I ask you, did you guys have the impression as a child that redhead children were ugly?
Like, you mean just babies or
Toddlers and
toddlers
children.
or just people
Yeah,
our
just
age?
children in general. Because
No.
I always felt like representations I saw on TV, like in commercials, I was always like, oh,
Yeah.
I had a sense they were making fun of them. And I don't know if that's
You,
just a weird message I got as a kid because I was, concerned about it. I don't know.
Yeah, what's interesting about young kids is I have 2 young kids and they're not redheads, but it's interesting. My husband was talking to his friend recently and they were talking about someone that they know of a friend just had a baby, a boy, and is a redhead. And his friend made a comment like, oh, like I feel so bad for that boy, like, oh, like, but then we were talking after, and I was like, how interesting is it when a little girl has red hair? Oh, so cute. Oh my
Right.
God.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
beautiful little girl. And then with a little boy, like I feel bad for him. So that's interesting how
That's
I've
interesting.
noticed that. Yeah, I picked up on that now that our friends have kids or are starting to have children, my friends personally, and that has been talked about a few times. Like, and with my son, it was like, oh, we would hear comments like, oh, well, he's not a red, like never like, oh, do you think he's going to have red hair? It was just he's brown. But then with my daughter, it's like, oh, do you think she's going to be a redhead? That would be so cute. But I'm reflecting, I'm like, I never heard that about my son. So it's interesting how men and boys, like,
I think so.
are treated differently.
There's a double standard.
I think you're right. I've never thought about that, but my dad was a redhead, and I think that's why I had those insecurities, because he did suffer being made fun of.
Yeah. But if your mom had red hair, I'm curious, how it's kind of roles reverse. You see your mom probably, embracing it, but then with your dad. Yeah. But I just find that so interesting with young kids. And I'm hoping that it changes more with society and social media, that, you wouldn't say to a young boy, oh, I feel bad for him.
Oh, I feel bad for how you look.
Right? Because
I think that things are changing, because now I feel like being unique is celebrated. And, red hair is considered unique. It's not like everybody's running around with red hair. I definitely notice when I go places and, I'm like, ooh, I'm probably sticking out because I'm the only light-haired person, around with this bright red hair. Blondes, brunettes, you're used to it. And then there's this, but I think that has an impact on my career and maybe my personality. I mean, I own it.
Yeah, of course. Oh my gosh, yes.
Redheads, have you heard?
We aired on ABC's Shark Tank, episode 14, season 15. We are busy developing products and continuing to grow this incredible redhead lifestyle brand.
Check out our mascara and eyebrow products in red hot shades, hair care, merch, lifestyle items, and so much more. Redheads, we can now rejoice.
Finally, there are products for us.
Use code podcast to get 15% off your next purchase. Shop at shop.howtobearedhead.com.
Yes, because being a red hair, we always say red hair is more than a color, it's a lifestyle. And it's so true. Like, it is part of who we are. And that's something, and we love that your Instagram feed, it's so delightful mix. It's such like personal insight, professional updates, so hilarious. So how do you decide what aspects of your life to share? And how has social media played in a role, in connecting with your fans, fellow redheads? But how does that happen now? And I'm sure it's evolved from when you started your career to now, since, TikTok is now a thing and Instagram Reels, and there's all this stuff evolving, right, on social.
Yeah, it's very, like, I didn't start out with all of that, so there was no connection to fans or anything. And nowadays, I had a podcast as well for a while. It's still up. You can listen to old episodes. We'll get to that. But I met people that I am still friends with that have traveled to see me in shows, and, things like that never happened. Or, being able to do things for someone, for a child that was terminally ill, and being able to get tours and, things like that that are just like so cool. Wait, tell me what the original question was. I don't want to veer off too far.
No, we were just how do you know what to share versus what to kind of keep private?
So there does need to be a work-life balance, because as creative entrepreneurs, you know this too. Yeah. Your work can take over everything. And when I say work, it's not what other people would consider. It's not going 9 to 5, right? It's the constant in your head. For me, it's ideas and writing, and, it's probably products and things, marketing and all the things for you. So, you're going constantly. And for me, I'm like, but that doesn't identify my whole personality. That's not who I am. And what I'm doing as an actress is selling myself ultimately in the beginning until I get to play these characters. And so that's how I chose what I want to put on social media. I limit what I put of my son, but I do like to share him a little bit. I'm very proud of him,
Yeah, you should be. Yeah.
As you should. That's so
but
nice.
I love
And then
sharing my animals, and I love to share how silly I am.
fun stuff.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. And then going back, I know we talked about skin and hair, makeup.
Yeah.
How has that been, that journey on discovering what products work for you and then being in, in front of camera,
on camera
needing
too.
different
I mean,
makeup.
that's pressure.
Yeah.
Obviously, hair and makeup people.
They
help
definitely
a lot.
do.
Yeah.
So when I work,
Yeah.
it's a little bit of a relief at this point in my career, but I'll tell you, early on in my career that, I remember doing jobs where I wasn't that important, so there wasn't a lot of time being spent. And I had to tell a woman once, I am so sorry, I don't want to be rude, but I am a redhead. You have to put mascara on me or I will look like I have no eyelashes.
Yeah, were they going to leave out the mascara?
No
I mean, not all
mascara.
redheads wear mascara. Whoa, okay.
No,
in front of the camera?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Oh.
Yeah. And I was like, I can't allow myself to be seen that way.
Yeah.
No, mascara is a redhead's
my
best friend,
gosh,
I
yes.
think.
So, things like that have happened. I wear a lot lighter makeup. My choices for makeup are a lot lighter when I'm not working. So when I go to work, sometimes I'm like, ugh. But day to day, I would say I like to just, I'm a big fan of my eyes. And so I do a little eyeliner and some mascara, but I keep it pretty simple, which is funny because my mother was, she embraced the 80s, just a paint palette up here,
Yeah, that was what was so in back then.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So I got a lot of flack from my mom, like, you're so plain. But I feel like a redhead, maybe this is no offense to anyone else, but I feel like as redheads, we don't have to do as much because our red hair is kind of the jewel.
It's true.
It is.
And
I have to agree with that.
I agree.
Yeah, I count on it. I
Me
count on it every
too.
day. I'm like, oh, good. Well, at least I have my red hair. I can go outside, no makeup
I
on. Who
love that you
cares?
said that, Adrian. I count on it. Yeah, that's so. And our freckles.
Yeah.
Like, I really have learned to embrace my freckles and wearing just a lot of sunscreen. I've just
Always.
really embraced. Yeah, like looking back, Adrian and I both went to college in Miami. I would go days without wearing sunscreen. I don't know what I was thinking. I didn't think that. I thought maybe I just thought it wasn't cool and none of my friends were wearing it. But now I don't wear a lot of foundation unless it has an SPF in it.
Oh, for sure.
But
yeah.
sunscreen is also my best friend. And how about you living in Hollywood? I'm sure sunshine like all the time.
To be honest, nobody in Hollywood likes sun. Like we're trying to preserve our skin. So it's a very funny.
Yeah.
I think that's different in
Right.
Florida. I think people are beach
Love that,
buddies.
though.
Out here, everybody's
In Florida,
a fun
yes.
painting
Yeah,
on,
it's
wearing
interesting.
huge hats. So
Mhm.
there's that. Wait, what was the original question?
Sunscreen.
I wanted to say, I am so glad that you guys said being a redhead is a lifestyle. And that's one of the reasons it is. Because I don't even go walk my dog around the block without a quick spritz. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh, I
Oh,
know. Yeah. And it has to be
It has to be at least 30 SPF or it's useless.
yes. SPF 10 or 15. I mean, I don't even
Forget-
know
no,
what that
forget about it.
that would be pointless to put that on. I'm wasting time.
We went up to Big Bear to take my son. He had never seen snow. He wanted to go sledding. So we took him up tubing. And my husband was in charge of buying sunscreen. And he bought 20 SPF. And I didn't look at it. I just assumed we'd been together forever. I fry like an egg, right? I got so burnt from the snow.
Oh my gosh. Because the
From
snow
the snow,
reflects.
that will happen.
Yeah.
I just recently went skiing and I learned the hard way that, I definitely knew to wear sunscreen, but for a minute I didn't have it on and I was out and I was like, I could tell, like, even though it was cold and in the sun, I had to run inside and go put some sunscreen on because I
feel
knew.
it, right?
Oh no, I know that feeling. You can
That
feel
was
the
tightness
feeling.
and,
Yeah.
like redness.
Yeah, there's a,
Yes, I thought I was crazy, but I always joke around and say, no, I can feel my skin cooking. But I can't.
Yeah, and it's a
It is.
terrible feeling.
It is
Honestly,
terrible.
I know people who love the beach. I know Stephanie and I have so many funny beach stories, but having to sit out there and endure the skin burning, I don't know what tan people feel.
I have no idea. I
but
can't relate.
Me either.
it must feel good for them. I don't know what it is. It must feel like they're getting bronzed, whereas like we feel like we're
Yes.
burning.
Yes.
But no,
Or just like
I
I
know
just
exactly.
have childhood memories of going to the beach, not wearing sunscreen, and then our mom just doing a vino oatmeal bath. Like, okay, get in the bath. You got you got a sunburn. And
Yeah.
then we'd go in the bath, and then she'd put you'd have to wear like we'd have to put our straps down like as if it was like a tube top, you know, because like we'd have to put all this lotion, and we didn't want the straps to like touch the sunburn. But
Yeah.
it's like traumatizing. And then
I
it would
got-
take days for it to flake off, you know, and then it would like peel off. Ugh.
I got burnt so bad one time I got sun poisoning and my face swelled up. You couldn't tell I had a nose and I could see my forehead. I couldn't go outside of the house for like a week. I'm so lucky I didn't get, skin cancer or something. But I think I was so young, my body was like, oh, we'll be all right, But yeah, that was terrifying. My parents never wanted to let me out of the house again.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And also what's really scary is recently, and I wear sunscreen. Like I have sunscreen on right now, and I've been inside recording and stuff, like I have sunscreen on all the time. And I noticed like right here, I started seeing this little like, it almost looked like it was coming in as like a little mole, but it wasn't dark yet, but it just started having like a really weird form and it was flaky. And so I knew the signs because of everything we do. I was like, oh, this doesn't look like something that's growing in as a mole because I do have little skin tags here and there. So I went to the dermatologist and she burned it off, but she was like, yeah, that has all the signs of skin cancer. And I was like, oh my gosh. So it's scary, because I am someone who has worn sunscreen. I wear hats all the time, mainly because I don't want my hair to fade. And I still somehow got the start of whatever it was going to be. And so just like, it's so important to like really, really pay close attention. Cause they say all like the sunburns you get as kids, like that's actually what's giving you skin cancer, not all of the good work I've done in my 20s and 30s. It's like probably it's bad sunburns I got in my young years that contributed to it.
That's something too. I'm glad you mentioned that. We do have to keep up with checking our skin and getting body checks and everything. My dad's had skin cancer 3 times.
Whoa, 3 times.
Yeah,
How did he catch it?
Twice on his nose and once like over by his ear.
Oh yeah. Actually, ears are one of the most overlooked places to put sunscreen. People just forget to put it on their ears. Yeah, I know. So,
wow.
Oh, Adrian, were you gonna go?
I was just going to ask about, I had a question I had 2 questions and I know that we had so many other ones, but that's okay. I loved our combo. But I was wondering about what advice you give to people who are acting and want to be where you are. They're from a small town. They want to move to Hollywood. What advice do you give them?
So my advice, I can't give advice to dramatic actors because I didn't follow that path. So I don't know what that is. I knew that I wanted to get into comedy. I knew that was my open door into the industry. So I came out here and immediately jumped into classes. I did improv classes at iOS. I was at UCB. I was at the Groundlings. I did Groundlings Sunday Company. And the reason I say that is not just for the training I got. I got amazing training for sure. I got, connected, but the people I met. So I tell people this is the honest truth. I can relate my entire career back to people I met, experiences I had, or being seen doing comedy, improv, and sketch. That's the honest truth. People seeing you and going, who is that crazy girl? Things like that.
Yeah. And our producer was telling us too about your connection somehow to Robin Williams. Was there a story?
Yes, that is an amazing thing. There was a time when we still had Robin where he was getting ready to go back and do his show again. He had that last show that he had. I cannot remember. I have such a bad memory these days. But
I know what you're referring to. I don't know where it was, but social like media made light of it. I remember.
Yes, and was it Reese Witherspoon with him? I can't remember. It doesn't matter.
I'm not sure.
He That is a man that had no ego. I just really believe that because he wanted to brush up and be ready. And so he went into the wilds of the improv world in Hollywood and LA
So
and just said,
cool.
hey
Wow.
guys, can I jump in? Like found shows that he could jump into. And so I had been at UCB doing a show
Wow.
one night and they were like, hey, Robin Williams wants to do the next show. You want to stay and jump in? And I was like, absolutely. So he was the
Whoa.
most giving
Wow.
player. He was so kind. We had, there was a bit of a risque scene, but it was something I had offered up. It wasn't something he pushed on me. And so he was like, was that okay? And I said, 100%, I offered that up. He was just so kind, so polite, and
Wow.
so funny. I just feel like, yeah, that's a story where I'm like an
That you'll
icon.
always remember, like such a moment that you'll always
I
take
remember
with you. Yeah.
almost nothing about the show, but I remember his face. I remember what he was wearing. I remember him sitting at a table in a scene. Like I have very vivid memories of meeting him.
That's
Yeah.
remarkable. Wow.
Wow. That is such an awesome memory. That's so incredible. And then what we wanted to end with, because we love to end with
Yeah.
positivity, but what confidence, I know we touched upon confidence before, but what confidence advice do you have for not only redheads who are listening in, but just anyone who is, just becoming their own or growing into their own? What advice do you
Yeah,
have for
I'm going
them?
to give this advice for myself too, because I think confidence ebbs and flows, right? It wanes. And I am
Yeah.
at a point in my life, I'm in my late 40s. I have a new chapter coming. The entertainment industry is changing completely with AI and things. So I'm like, I don't know where my place is going to be
Yeah.
in this world, but I know I have one. So I would say for me, what I have always been very staunch about is comparison is the thief of joy. Don't compare yourself to
Mm-hmm.
someone else. You are on your own journey, and the journey is the most important part,
Yeah.
right? You're not going to get to the end of your
Yeah.
life and say, oh, I hope I made so and so proud or happy, or I'm glad
Yeah.
so and so liked
No,
it,
it's
right?
very true.
It's
You
about,
can't compare. And social media makes that so difficult at times,
yeah,
but
because
you just
people are
can't
like
do it.
seeing the good,
Mm-hmm.
So there's that. And then I would say, whatever you feel burning in your heart, don't chase a dime, okay? I know we all have to survive. I'm not saying, be in house and,
Mm-hmm.
but don't chase a
Yeah.
dime. Find a way to infuse your passion into what you do. And I do believe that that is always possible. You ladies have done it. It's not easy. It's hard work. But as you're going through those trials and tribulations, every person that tells you you can't make it is a person who never tried. Okay?
Yeah.
So keep going.
Yeah.
Keep going. I was
I
not a
love that.
superstar. I'm still not a superstar today, but I'm sure darn happy. I have it all. I'm a mother. I have a career. I'm creative. I have an amazing family. Life's not perfect, but I sure do what I can to seek out that happiness, and that makes me feel good about my next steps in life.
Happiness is
And we
everything.
can't wait to see
Wow,
what you
Dana,
do.
you are
We
so
can't wait.
inspiring.
Oh, thank
Really.
you. I think
You
you ladies
No.
are.
No, just talking with you just gave me like such a jolt on like life and just like, oh my gosh, yes, that's it. Like happiness
Yeah,
and
especially for us
just
women, because they tell us that, oh, you've got a certain amount of time. And we know that that's biological, but then they keep pushing it, oh, you're getting older, you're getting older. I ain't done till I say I'm done.
no, yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Oh, you're awesome.
Thank
You're
you.
awesome, Dana. Thank you so much for
Thank
coming
you.
on. And we just love talking to you.
It
Thank you
was
for your
so nice to
time.
meet you.
Thank you.